Yesterday I made a video talking about buyer's remorse, and that was kind of the part 1 of today's part 2, where I talked about pretty much a video posted by Nin10doland on YouTube has sparked this conversation about Nintendo, where I talked about how people could be having buyer's remorse, where they bought the Switch 2 and not happy with it because the games just haven't been up to par. Now, I highly recommend you go back and watch that video yesterday because there's a lot there. But if you didn't watch it, I'll give you a quick recap. I'm content with my Switch 2. I actually am happy I purchased the console. There's lots of old games for me to play, third-party games, and even the new games coming out appeal to me as a hardcore Nintendo fan. But I was talking about how I could see how someone that's more of a casual gamer may not be happy with their purchase, as they've been waiting for some more bigger games to be announced outside of Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza. I even ran a poll with you guys here on the channel where I asked if you were having buyer's remorse, and 64% of you said no. I love my Switch 2. But like I said, I wanted to do a part 2 where I moved away from buyer's remorse and talked more about incentive to buy the console. And this is for people that have not bought a Switch 2 yet. So let's jump into it. Why might someone not want to buy a Switch 2 yet? Like I said in the last video, I'm going to be focusing more on the Nintendo first-party games. And the first thing that I think a lot of people might be scared off by is the freaking price. It's no secret that the Switch 2 is an expensive console. It's definitely not the most expensive, and it's only going to go up though thanks to tariffs. I mean, that's out of Nintendo's control, but still, Nintendo charging $450 for a console, and for the main game to come with it, Mario Kart World, if you're not getting the bundle, you're going to have to fork over $80 for this game. $80! And the problem is, it's not just this game. Nintendo is being very greedy with everything. I mean, they're re-releasing Mario Galaxies 1 and 2 for a whopping $70. When Mario Galaxy 1 was already re-released 5 years ago for Mario's 3D collection. So it's just like, at that point, it was $20. If you bring back Galaxy 2, it should also be $20. This pack should have been no more than 40 bucks at the most. I guess we gotta pay for them juicy new story details. But then Nintendo's like, hey, we got Virtual Boy, but you have to pay $100 for the accessory in order to play these games on your Nintendo Switch Online account, or you can buy the cardboard version for $25. Labo's still here, or try out our new water version for $15. We can go over a lot of different Nintendo products where it's the same thing, and I know a lot of people could say you don't have to purchase all these things with your Switch 2. You don't need a Switch 2 Pro controller, even though it is slightly better and it has back paddles. You don't need to buy extra Switch 2 Joy-Con unless you want other people to play. You don't need to purchase any of the $30 to $50 amiibo. This one is freaking sick though. So yeah, you don't need to make those purchases if you want to buy a Switch 2 and like a couple of games. You can save your money, but still, it's just kind of, it makes you feel sick. Like I want those things, but I can't afford them. Just seeing those prices just makes you feel sick. And on top of that, it just seems like Nintendo's just being even more greedy when it comes to little charges here and there. And this is going to kind of segue into the next section where it feels like Nintendo is just giving us more Switch stuff. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel necessarily like a huge new generation in my opinion. It feels like the next year for Switch, but just now for Switch 2. Like, a lot of the games are Switch 1 games that are coming in the form of Switch 2 editions, and once again, they're charging an extra $20 for a lot of these things. A lot of these Switch 2 editions feel like quick little cash grabs that don't bring much to the table. Some of them were okay, but for the most part, a lot of them feels like just cut content that should have been there day one. And the same thing goes for DLC, like Donkey Kong Bonanza just got a brand new DLC drop for 20 bucks, and it's essentially just cut content, it feels like. Hey, here's DK Isle with nothing on it besides this little mini game, because it's just like, yeah, I kind of expected DK Isle to be there as a post-game world the same way the Mushroom Kingdom was for Super Mario Odyssey. So it felt kind of strange, and people are seeing this thinking, am I really about to drop $70 for Donkey Kong Bonanza and have to drop another $20 for its DLC? I mean, a good chunk of Nintendo's first Switch 2 reveal direct, they showcased nothing but Switch 1 games. He was like, hey, here's Mario Party Jamboree that literally just came out, and we're adding this brand new Jamboree TV thing where you have to pay an extra $20 to play this extra content. Hey, here's a couple of $10 extra upgrade packs for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Like, once again, more little upcharges for old games. Kirby and the Forgotten Land has a brand new $20 update for Switch 2, adding some new content, which arguably is probably the best out of all of these, but it's some extremely short amount of content that gives you some remixed levels. It's still like more Switch 1 games. Here's a $20 extremely half-baked wheelchair basketball game that died literally immediately as soon as it came out. It's just stuff like this, like literally a $10 tour for your Switch 2. $10 for this. One of my best friends is a huge Pokemon fan and literally buying the console for Pokemon alone, and because, you know, the Switch 1 version probably is going to run the game like absolute poop. Even though I think he's still purchasing a Nintendo Switch 2, he even told me the other day that he's questioning his purchase simply due to the fact that they're already announcing DLC that's going to be out as soon as you purchase the game. There's of course going to be future content, but it's just like, oh my gosh, they just don't waste any time ready to slap you with another charge. Now, something else I was talking about the other day is incentive. What is the incentive to buy a Switch 2 right now? Are there games that's going to draw a casual audience that's just here for the big names, the Marios, the Zeldas? Well, Mario Kart World, of course, a lot of people are going to want to play Mario Kart. It is a spin-off of a mainline series, but still, it's Mario Kart. It sells. People love Mario Kart. But they're going to be looking for something else to play on their Switch 2s after. And of course, that gives us Donkey Kong Bonanza. But man, out of the people that I do know have Switch 2s, and I mean the very few people that I know have Switch 2s, no one seems to even know that Donkey Kong exists. They're like, yeah, I know Mario Kart. Yeah, I picked up Mario Kart. What's Donkey Kong? Like, what is this Donkey Kong game? I know it's sad because the game is high quality. It's up there at the quality of a new 3D Mario game. But people don't see Donkey Kong like that right now, and I don't think it's going to sell like a 3D Mario right now. Actually, I know it's not. And I see in my own comment section from people that haven't bought Switch 2 still asking, where's the 3D Marios? Where's the Smash Brothers? Where's the Zeldas? Of course, it's not time for that yet, but still, where's the Animal Crossings? Where's Luigi's Mansion? Where's Mario Maker? There's so many franchises and series that are huge drawing points for Nintendo, and none of them have even been teased yet as we're moving into the beginning of next year. I made this clear yesterday, and I'll make it clear again. For die-hard Nintendo fans, or just for fanboys of Nintendo, this is still a lot of games to play. You know, you look at the rest of this year and even the beginning of next year, there's still so much on the calendar. But then when you take a step back and look at it in the lens of just a casual gamer who's trying to justify a $450 price tag, after Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza, there's not a lot. Tons of Switch 2 editions. I mean, you even look at the rest of this year, you have Mario Galaxy 1+2, an old game that came out in the Wii over 15 years ago. A Zelda spinoff being the third Warriors game. We have a Kirby spinoff being a third racing game for this year, and probably even more than that because there's other things like Garfield Racing, but you got Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, you have Mario Kart World, Nintendo's own, so it's going to be competing against those games. And then, of course, to end the year, we have Metroid Prime 4, which I'm the most excited about, but it is a Switch 1 game. You don't necessarily need to buy a Switch 2 for that. The recent Nintendo Direct didn't do much more to help its cause because it's just more of the same. Tomodachi Life, a Switch 1 game that's coming. The same thing goes for Rhythm Heaven Groove, which they didn't even talk about. But we have Mario Tennis Fever, another Mario spin-off game that's once again a tennis game, which you already have Mario Tennis Aces on the Switch 1. Unless this game is really warranting a second Mario Tennis purchase, I know it's probably going to be charged at like, what, $70? It's $70. Mario Wonders Switch 2 Edition is just an expansion of an old Switch game. Well, not old, couple-year-old Switch game. And then you only have two real big Switch 2 games, I guess you could say, for next year. Yoshi and the Mysterious Book and Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. I'm not a Fire Emblem fan whatsoever, and I played every single Yoshi game to date. With that said, I think I'm more excited about Fire Emblem. Look, I am not underestimating the draw power of something like a brand new Fire Emblem game for Switch 2, and I'm sure there are some people out there that are going to buy a Switch 2 just to play the next installment in the Fire Emblem franchise. But for the general audience, most people aren't going to care about this. It's still a niche franchise, and I'm saying this as someone who loves Metroid. Metroid's in the same boat. Not a lot of people are going to go buy Switch 2s to play Metroid Prime 4, even if it was a Switch 2 exclusive. Fire Emblem is a growing franchise, but it does have kind of floppy sales where sometimes you'll get something like Fire Emblem Fates at 3 mil, or even Fire Emblem 3 Houses at 4.1, but then you get Fire Emblem Engage at 1.6. And from what I've heard, Fire Emblem Engage is not that good. Of course, that's the one I bought, so I guess I'm just going to have to leave it in the wrapper and play 3 Houses instead first, because you guys killed me when I said that I'm about to start Engage. Look, my point is, if people don't really know that Donkey Kong is a thing right now for Switch 2, or see Donkey Kong as a big game for Switch 2, they're not going to see Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave as that either. Nothing against the franchise, but I think it would have been great if they would reveal this along with something else that's more mainstream for a general audience to say, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go pick up a Switch 2 for that for sure. As someone who would have jumped for joy to see a new Pikmin or even Kid Icarus return, I can realize that it's not something for the masses and for a general audience for that year one of Switch 2 to convince people to pay $450 to buy that console. And same thing for Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. It's fine, you know, it's a cute little game. It reminds me of Princess Peach Showtime. It looks like it's probably even going to be aimed towards children. I could be wrong, but still, this is something that just screams like year 2 for Nintendo. Like, hey, you got all your bangers out, switch to year 1, and now you start to calm down and have some, you know, smaller scale games. So to see this as the, you know, first really big game for next year for Switch 2, it's not doing a lot for people that want to go out and buy this console, I could tell. Now, I did another poll. This one is focused on the games and for people that didn't buy Switch 2s yet. And I know it's still kind of early since I put this poll out, but from what I've seen so far with past polls, it's probably going to look very similar to this even a day later. But the majority is saying no. 48% said nope, not too many games appeal to me, waiting on the bigger ones. 29% said maybe, might still be a while until they get one. And 24% said yes, they have convinced me to get a Switch 2 very soon. There's lots of games. So that's 77% of people that are no or on the fence about purchasing a Switch 2 that answered just from my poll in just about an hour. So how do I feel about this personally? I have a Switch 2. And I don't really regret my purchase at all. There's lots of things for me to play, and I've so far been having a really good time, even though I don't think this is as strong of a year for Switch 2 that it should have been. However, if I didn't have a Switch 2 and was just a casual gamer who was here for some of the bigger, exciting things and wanting to play the bigger and exciting things, I don't know if I'd purchase a Switch 2 right now. I mean, most of those bigger, exciting things can still be played on Switch 1. The next upcoming Metroid Prime game can be played on Switch 1. Lots of these Switch 2 editions are Switch 1 games. So if I were to go out and buy a Switch 2 as a general fan of games, it would only be for like Donkey Kong and Mario Kart. And after that recent Direct, it's not making me feel too bad about that decision either. But let me know down below how you feel about all of this. As someone who doesn't own a Switch 2, do you plan on getting one soon? And what's your biggest reason as to why you don't want one soon? Is it the prices? Is it the games? Is it something else? Let me know down below. And once again, have a blessed day, guys.